I still remember the night of that Halloween party like it was yesterday. Not because I was there, but because of how deeply it ended up etching itself into my memory. We had been talking for about 3 months at that point. Me and her. I thought we were building something beautiful. We weren't officially a couple yet, but we'd been exclusive for a while. We talked every day, fell asleep on calls, and I was already thinking about introducing her to my family during the holidays. That night, we agreed on something simple. She'd go to her friend Nate's Halloween party, and after it was over, she'd meet me at her place. I even had her apartment keys, ready to welcome her home. I didn't want to go to the party myself. I've never been big on crowds or loud music, but I didn't mind her going. I trusted her. Or at least, I thought I did. Hours passed. I texted her around 10 p.m. No reply. I figured she was having fun, maybe her phone died. Midnight came. Still no word. I called her. Straight to voicemail. I waited, hoping every second that the next buzz on my phone would be her, saying she was on her way home, or needed a ride, or even just wanted to hear my voice. But it didn't come. Instead, I sat alone on her couch, holding her keys in one hand, staring at the door, trying to ignore the cold pit forming in my stomach. I felt sick. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't leave. I needed to know she was okay. At around 8 a.m., she finally messaged me. "I'm so sorry," she wrote. I blacked out. I stayed on the couch at Nate's place. I biked home just now. No explanation. No detail. Just that. And a lot of "I feel terrible and I don't remember anything." She looked like hell when she came back. Her makeup was smeared. Her voice hoarse. She had the kind of hangover that drains the soul. I didn't push her too hard. I was just relieved she was safe. That's what I told myself. But something about that night never sat right with me. And yet, despite the weirdness, despite the fact she had gone missing for almost 12 hours, that very same morning, something unexpected happened. We sat together on the floor of her bedroom, surrounded by the mess of her costume and empty water bottles. She looked me in the eyes and told me she loved me. I told her I loved her too. And just like that, we became official. Boyfriend and girlfriend. But now, I can't help but ask myself, were we building our relationship on a lie? For months after that night, we moved forward like nothing had happened. Or maybe I just convinced myself that it wasn't worth thinking about. I buried the gut feeling, the one that told me something wasn't right, deep down where it couldn't hurt me. I told myself she was just drunk. That she was safe. That she hadn't done anything wrong. And maybe I wanted so badly to believe in us and her that I ignored what my instincts were screaming. We became inseparable. Sleepovers, weekend trips, date nights where she'd fall asleep with her head on my shoulder while we watched bad movies. She was attentive. Loving. She laughed at my dumb jokes and told me I made her feel safe. She even stopped drinking completely, not just casually, but like she was scared of what might happen if she ever lost control again. I saw that as a sign of growth, as proof that she cared enough to change. But in the back of my mind, I never forgot Halloween. That strange, silent gap in our timeline. The missing hours. And then 8 months later, I broke the one rule I swore I wouldn't break. I looked through her phone. I don't know why I did it. She was in the shower, humming to herself, totally at ease. Maybe it was just curiosity. Maybe I was still haunted by that old fear. Maybe I already knew something was there. I opened her messages. My hands were sweating. My heart was racing, like my body already knew I was about to see something I couldn't unsee. The texts with Nate were right near the top. And they were recent. He'd just moved to a new town, and they were catching up. Small talk at first. Then, somehow, the conversation drifted to the Halloween party. The party. My stomach dropped as I saw him casually mention, "Oh well, remember when we were dancing? You were gone. Like totally blacked out. I still can't believe you wanted to keep hanging out after everyone left. You kissed me and then threw up 5 minutes later." Fun times face with tears of joy. I froze. No. No. My eyes burned as I reread it. Again and again. The way he said it so casually, like it was just some funny anecdote from a crazy night. But to me, it felt like betrayal stabbed through my ribs. She kissed him. They were alone in his room. She chose to stay after everyone else left. She kissed him, then threw up. And then she slept over. Everything inside me wanted to scream. I could practically feel the blood rushing in my ears. 8 months. 8 months of me holding her through nightmares of us saying, "I love you," before falling asleep. And she'd never told me. Never said a word. She knew what happened. She read those messages a week ago. And still nothing. I felt sick. When she came out of the shower, I couldn't even look at her. I just held up her phone and said, "You read this a week ago. Why didn't you tell me?" Her smile vanished in an instant. She looked at the phone, then back at me. Her mouth opened slightly, like she didn't know where to begin. I was going to," she whispered. "I just didn't know how." I stood there waiting, desperately hoping that there was some kind of explanation. Something that would make it all make sense. Some thread of logic that would make the knot in my chest loosen. She wrapped the towel tighter around herself, still dripping wet from the shower, still stunned. Her face looked pale. Her lips quivered, and not from the cold. "I didn't remember any of it," she said. "Not until Nate texted. When I read what he wrote, I felt like I got punched in the stomach. I was horrified. I didn't speak. She kept going, like if she stopped, she'd break apart. I didn't mean for any of it to happen. I didn't even remember being in his bedroom. I didn't remember kissing him. I thought I just blacked out and passed out on the couch. That's all I believed happened until now." I still said nothing, because deep down I wasn't just mad at her, I was mad at myself. For believing in her so blindly. For letting my guard down. For loving her as hard as I did when there was always that voice in the back of my mind whispering, "Something doesn't add up." "You read this a week ago," I said finally, my voice low. "And you didn't tell me." She wiped a tear away with the back of her hand. "I know. I was scared. I thought you'd leave me. I thought you'd see me differently. And I didn't know how to bring it up without destroying everything we've built. That's not how trust works," I snapped. "You let me go on thinking nothing happened. You let me sleep beside you, kiss you, talk about the future after reading this." "I wasn't trying to lie," she cried. "I was trying to figure out what it even meant. I've been spiraling all week. I didn't even want to talk to Nate in the first place, and when I saw what he said, I panicked. I didn't know how to process it, let alone explain it to you." I stared at her, and then I asked the question that had been burning in my mind since I read the texts. "Did you want to kiss him? Was that who you wanted that night?" Her eyes widened. No, of course not. I was out of my mind. You know I never drink like that anymore. That night scared me too. I felt disgusting when I read what I did. Like I had betrayed you without even knowing it. But you still stayed," I said. "He offered you a ride home with someone else, and you said you wanted to hang out more. You made that choice. Even blacked out, you chose to stay." She didn't answer, because she couldn't deny it. And neither could I. The silence between us grew heavy, like a third presence in the room, loud, choking, unbearable. I sat down on the edge of the bed, holding her phone in my hand like it was something cursed. I stared at the screen, at those messages from Nate, replaying the words over and over. "You kissed me and then threw up." That line haunted me. Not just because it painted a picture I never wanted in my head, but because it revealed something I'd feared all along. That she had made a decision, even if she didn't remember making it. I looked up at her. "Tell me something," I said. "If I hadn't seen those texts, would you really have told me?" She paused. "I want to say yes," she whispered. "I want to believe I would have. But I don't know." Panicked. And I hated myself for not telling you sooner. I nodded slowly. That hurt even more than the betrayal itself. The idea that she might not have told me at all, that I could have spent the rest of our relationship never knowing this missing piece of our origin story. "Do you understand what this does to me?" I asked. "To us." She knelt in front of me, still clutching the towel around her like armor. "Please don't let this ruin us," she begged. "I love you. I've loved you from the beginning. You mean everything to me. That night, God, I hate that night, but I didn't cheat on you on purpose. I didn't even know what I was doing. But it still happened," I said. "Intent doesn't erase reality." "I know," she sobbed. "I know, and I would do anything to undo it. Anything. I've been loyal to you every day since. I haven't touched a drink in 8 months. I've been trying to be better for you." I wanted to believe her, and maybe that's the problem. I still did. Despite everything, despite the lies, despite the betrayal, I still loved her, and that's what hurt the most, because love shouldn't feel like this. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling, trying to keep the tears from falling. I felt like I was being ripped in two. On one side was the woman I'd spent the last year with, warm, caring, funny, affectionate. On the other side was a memory I couldn't scrub out of my head. Her lips on his, her drunken decision, her silence. "I don't know how to move forward," I said softly, "because now I don't know who I'm really with. I don't know what that night meant. And I don't know what kind of person hides something like this for a week. I'm not that person, she said, grabbing my hand. I'm not. I made a horrible mistake. But I'm not a liar. I'm not a cheater. I've changed. I've grown. Have you? I said. Or have you just gotten better at hiding the truth? Her grip loosened. Her eyes filled with tears again, and I looked away. Because part of me already knew this wasn't just about one kiss. It was about trust. And now that trust was cracked right down the middle. That night, after everything was said, after all the tears, all the begging, all the anger, I didn't sleep. I lay in her bed, stiff as stone, staring at the shadows dancing across the ceiling. She curled up beside me, silently weeping. Her breathing was uneven, her shoulders trembling every now and then. I didn't hold her. I couldn't. My mind kept rewinding. Not just to that night at Nate's party, but to everything that came after. Our first real date. The way she nervously played with her napkin and blushed when I complimented her smile. The night we stayed up until 4 a.m. just talking about our childhoods. The way she surprised me with coffee before one of my job interviews and kissed my forehead like it was the most natural thing in the world. And I hated it. I hated how hard it was to stop loving her. How can someone do something that shatters your trust and still feel like home? In the morning, I got dressed quietly. I didn't say anything when I left. She sat up in bed, eyes red and swollen, and asked in a whisper, "Are you coming back?" I didn't answer. I needed space. I needed to breathe. I needed to get the image of her kissing him out of my brain, an image I never witnessed, but that my imagination painted in excruciating detail. I wandered around the city for hours. I sat in a coffee shop until my drink went cold. I stared out into traffic like some hollow version of myself. People around me were laughing, talking, living, and I was stuck, paralyzed by a decision that felt too heavy to carry. Do I walk away from the woman I love? Or do I stay, knowing that the foundation of what we built had a crack in it from day one? Part of me wanted to scream at her, "You ruined everything." But another part, a smaller, more fragile part, whispered she didn't even know what she was doing. And then, of course, came the ugliest question of all. Would she have done it if she hadn't been drunk? Was that kiss something buried deep inside her already, something alcohol just unleashed? Did she secretly want him? Did she mean to stay? Because I've been drunk before, really drunk. But never once did I forget I was in a relationship. Never once did I want to be with someone else, not even when I was stumbling, slurring, barely standing. So why did she? Was I just different? Or was she? By the time the sun started going down, I realized something terrifying. No matter how many times I turned it over in my head, no matter how much context or apology she gave me, I didn't know if I could ever unsee it. That evening, I finally returned to her apartment. I didn't tell her I was coming. I just showed up, half hoping she wouldn't be there so I could sit with my thoughts in silence. But she was curled up on the couch, still wearing the hoodie I'd left there weeks ago, hugging her knees like she was trying to disappear. She looked up at me like she didn't believe I was real. "You came back," she whispered. "I'm not here to fix this," I said. "I just need to talk." She nodded and made space for me on the couch. I didn't sit. I stood in front of her, arms crossed, heart pounding, mind still full of static. "I need you to answer me honestly," I said. "Not carefully, not cautiously. Just real." She swallowed hard. "Okay. Did you ever have feelings for Nate?" "No," she said immediately, shaking her head. "Never." "Then why did you stay?" I asked. "Why, out of all the people at that party, when someone offered you a ride home, you stayed with him?" She looked down at her hands. "I don't know," she murmured. "I was drunk. I wasn't thinking straight. I felt like the night wasn't over. Like I didn't want to go home yet. Why his room? Depressed. Why not just hang out in the living room or with other people?" Her face crumpled. "I don't remember," she said. "I swear to God, I don't. I remember music and dancing, and then flashes. Nothing solid. And then I woke up on the couch. That doesn't make it okay." "I know." I finally sat down. Slowly, deliberately. Like I was afraid the act of sitting beside her would validate the pain. "And what about now?" I asked. "Are you still in contact with him?" "No," she said. "Not really. That text was the first time in months. He reached out because he was moving away. I didn't expect that." "And you didn't block him after?" She hesitated. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to make it a bigger deal than it already was. I was still trying to understand it myself. I stared at her. This girl I once believed I would marry. The one I'd fantasized about proposing to in the spring. The one whose laugh I could recognize in a crowd whose scent still lingered on my clothes. And for the first time, she looked like a stranger to me. A stranger who had shared a part of herself with someone else, whether willingly or in a haze, I couldn't tell. But it happened, and no amount of sorry could erase that. Then she asked something that caught me off guard. What would you do if it had been you? If you blacked out and I found out later you'd kissed someone but had no memory of it? I paused. I wouldn't blame you for leaving, I said. Even if I didn't remember it. I'd understand if you couldn't forget. She nodded slowly. Then I guess I deserved the same. And the worst part was, she was right. For the next few days, I barely existed. I went to work, I smiled when I had to, I talked to people like I was still present. But inside, I felt like someone had opened me up and carved out everything I thought I knew about love. She texted me every night. Sometimes long paragraphs. Sometimes just, I miss you. Please talk to me. I'm sorry. I didn't reply. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because I didn't know what to say. Every message just reopened the wound, made me think of her lips on his, of her passed out on his couch, of the secrets she held for a week. I kept telling myself it was before we were official. But it didn't matter. Not when you've already committed emotionally to someone. Not when you've been acting like you're already in love. One night, I sat alone in my apartment and reread our first texts, the silly flirtations, the nicknames, the inside jokes that made us feel like we were the only two people on the planet. And I cried, because I knew what I had to do. The next day, I went to her place one last time. She opened the door so fast, I could tell she'd been waiting by it. Her eyes were tired, hopeful, broken. You came, she said softly. Yeah, I replied, but not for what you think. She nodded, like deep down she already knew. I still love you, I told her. God help me, I really do. But I don't know how to trust you anymore. And love without trust isn't enough. She started crying. She reached for me, but I stepped back. I believe you didn't mean for it to happen, I continued. I believe you were scared. I believe you feel guilty. But none of that changes the fact that I now have to live with something that will always make me question the beginning of us. But we've had so much after, she whispered. Haven't we built something real? We did, I said. But it started with a crack. And no matter how beautiful the house is, if the foundation is broken, eventually it all comes down. She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing into her hands. I didn't try to comfort her. I couldn't. Because if I touched her, I might not have the strength to leave. I looked at her one last time, the woman I thought I'd spend my life with. And then I turned and walked away. It's been months now. I still think about her sometimes. I still wonder if I made the right call. But I also know this, when someone shows you who they are, even in a moment of weakness, it's not about judging them. It's about deciding what you can live with. And I couldn't live with that kiss. Not because I think she's evil. Not because I think she meant to hurt me. But because part of me would never stop asking. What if it happens again?